Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another dispatch. Um, I thought I would read from this book. It's a beautiful book. Well, that's part of the title. All the Beauty in the World, the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Me, Patrick Bringley. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's bestseller, something. Anyway, it's really lovely. I'm really enjoying reading it. And there's a section now I just got to on the exhibition of the drawings of Michelangelo, which I had the great fortune to see. Before I do that, and then he goes into the G's Ben quilts. Okay, which I did not see, unfortunately. I do want to say something about painting and drawing. And that we are living in difficult times. I don't mean just the daily news, although that for sure. But, you know, this sense of it's been now 10, 20 years of, we're recorded here, yes. 10, 20 years, growing sense of fragmentation, polarization, right? I mean, I suppose we could go back further, but it's going to increase in these next years. And the rollout of AI is going to increase it. And that's coming quickly. And I deeply know that drawing and painting is one of the activities that we can engage in. I mean, all kinds of things for sure, playing music, gardening, right? Things that we our bodies, our minds, our sensibilities, our hearts come together. Important to help maintain, nurture, strengthen a sense of integration, wholeness. My advertisement. So it's good. We should do it. We do it. We should keep doing it. There's my pitch. Okay, day's work. 2 exhibitions fire my imagination over the next 2 years. One is enormous, the other modest. One features perhaps the most famous name in all of art. The other, a group of unknowns who may not even have considered themselves artists. One brings us to the center of 16th century Christendom. The other to a rural Black community in 20th century Alabama, the center of nothing in particular, except importantly, its inhabitants' lives. Yet for all their differences, the 2 exhibitions of Michelangelo's drawings and the works of the G's Ben quilt makers are alike in how they challenge my understanding of art, the making of art, and really the making of anything worthwhile in a world that so often resists our efforts. If somehow you were able to get close to the Sistine Chapel ceiling, if you stood on a high scaffold as Michelangelo did and raised your chin, you could see exactly how much work the master got done in a day. Each morning, the artist and his assistants prepared an area that would need to be fully painted at day's end. when the fresh application of plaster dried. The result would be a giornata, Italian for day's work. And the ceiling is really a mosaic of these small, irregularly shaped accomplishments with barely perceptible borders. Adam, reclining, is 4 giornate. God, outstretching, another 4. Making a count, we can see that Michelangelo spent some 570 days at that altitude with his trowels, brushes, pots of paint, and bags of sand and lime. The Met's exhibition is the closest I will come to seeing the master at work, albeit on a more intimate scale. It gathers 133 drawings he produced over the span of a 70-year career. Studies, for the most part, which he intended for no one to see. The title of the show is Michelangelo, Divine Draftsman and Designer. But its effect is to make its protagonist eminently mortal. It reveals a Michelangelo who didn't see himself as Michelangelo, a colossus of art history, because he was too absorbed in the struggle to complete each day's work. I'm standing in the show early one morning while down on Fifth Avenue. A crowd already waits impatiently to be let in. It's dark in the galleries, drawings spotlighted amid pools of black. And to fall into the orbit of one is to enter a whisperingly intimate world. Approaching a drawing, I look through the eyes of a teenaged Michelangelo as he looks through the eyes of an old master, the painter Masaccio, whose fresco of Saint Peter he sketched in red chalk, pen, and brown ink. When Michelangelo first began making such drawings, his father beat him savagely for it. The buonorotis, though broke, were noble. And it pained Lodovico to see his son working with his hands. Lodovico was right about one thing, I think, as I look at the drawing with its careful, painstaking cross-hatching. This was manual labor. Repetitious, tedious, physical. Skilled labor, to be sure, but of a humbling type that admitted no shortcut taking, no way to proceed except stroke by patient stroke. I am looking at a young artist's hand at work, and also I realize his mind at work. That's really one of the great things about drawings, parenthetically. When you look at a drawing, you can see the mind at work in a way that paintings they're more dense. It's harder to see with drawings. It's right there. Sensibility, the eye, the mind. All right. After Michelangelo had finished copying and subtly correcting Masaccio's Saint, he redrew Peter's outstretched hand, this time turning it 90 degrees to see how it would look from above. It seems a remarkable conceptual leap, though less so when I remember he was not training for a career. When I remember he was training for a career as a sculptor, and indeed would later resent being made to work in other mediums. Speaking of 3 dimensions, the drawing is framed such that I can walk around its display pedestal to view the verso, its backside, where I find he's drawn yet another hand, this one flayed of its flesh and muscle, the chilling hand of a skeleton. Perhaps he dissected St. Peter with his eyes. Perhaps he reused the sheet, one seldom wasted paper, while he carved up an actual corpse in the hospital in Florence's Santo Spirito. Whatever the case, I take a long look at my own hand and marvel at the scale of the project the young artist set out for himself, how accurately and how deeply he wished to see. Walking alone through these early galleries where drawings by Michelangelo's teachers are also on view, I'm reminded of something basic about the art-making process. The world doesn't make it easy to draw. The world doesn't make itself easy to draw. The safe route is to mimic others' tried and true formulas that limit the complexity, right? How to simplify. The dangerous route is to push the limits of your eyesight and try to invent ways for your pen to keep up. I had a teacher who said, the eye must outstrip, no, did he say it? The eye must outstrip the hand, and the hand needs to outstrip the mind. I think he said it. All right, where are we? Michelangelo fell in love with maybe the most demanding subject matter of all, the human body, with its 600 muscles and 200 odd bones. In these galleries, he is depending on his eyes, hand, and mind to learn how to set it in motion. When at 10 o'clock the museum opens, I am pushed from Florence to Rome. I leapfrog his early professional triumphs and land inside the Sistine Chapel, or rather a gallery made up to evoke it, with its great ceiling reproduced overhead. A few minutes later, I am swarmed by arriving pilgrims who step past drawings hung around the perimeter and point their cameras straight up. I chuckle as, a few yards away, a doodled version of Michelangelo holds his paintbrush straight up. In the self-portrait, he stands with his head thrown back 90 degrees and his arm pointed toward 12 o'clock, his posture for at least 570 days. Beside the doodle, he's written a sonnet complaining about the state of his spine, his buttocks, his paint-splattered face, and his brain in the casket of his head. It ends with a miserable line that might surprise my picture-happy neighbors in the gallery. I am not in a good place, and I am no painter. I've been having conversations with a lot of my students, and that's not a uncommon refrain, right? It's like, this is crazy, man. Why am I doing this? I can't do this. I shouldn't be doing this. And I try to just remind everybody we're all in good company. I mean, don't think that the greats didn't feel that too. I mean, that's just sort of part of the deal. I am not in a good place, and I am no painter. I chuckle again, remembering those words. I relish hearing about a master's insecurities. I suspect they make most of us feel less alone. Since the exhibition opened, I've been devouring Michelangelo's cranky, despairing letters. I waste my time without result. God help me, is a line that keeps popping into my head. Indeed, his first few dozen giornate were wretched failures, spoiled by improper plaster applications, an amateur mistake. He begged the Pope for permission to give up. There seems to have been no part of him that reveled in the awesome grandeur of the commission. And yet, with many excuse me's, I work my way around the perimeter to view the most celebrated drawing in the Met's permanent collection, also a highlight of the show. I'm going to pause there. I'll pause there. Okay, we'll come back. There's a bit more. Well, 2 more pages. Okay. you're all well. Hanging in. Working. Okay. Talk to you later. Be well.